Hey guys, today I wanted to share a bunch of middle grade books that I have requested from the library recently. I may have watched too many middle grade March TBR videos and then kind of like gone on a hold request binge. And yeah, this, you can't even see the stack. All of these are ones that I currently have in. I know I've requested more that haven't come in yet, but I'm just going to kind of chat about the ones I have. The first couple here I have read already. First one on the stack is, this was our Pact. This is a graphic novel about a couple boys who have this tradition in their town that on autumn equinox, they release a bunch of lanterns down a river and they want to follow them. And yeah, I knew that going into it. I wish I would have known like there was some fantastical elements to the story. That would have helped me a lot in my reading. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. Because I don't like to know a lot about my books going into them, I'm really not going to say a whole lot. Heartbeat is a free verse novel by Sharon Creech, where we follow a 12-year-old who likes to run. And it's kind of going through, I don't know, like a hard year maybe of her life where a lot of changes are happening. And I loved this book. Highly recommend this one. The next one is The Dreamer. This is by the same author who wrote Echo, which is one of my favorite middle grade books of all time. This one is kind of like a biography, I guess, which I wish I would have known going into it because it kind of felt disjointed while reading it. It's about I think a man who is a poet and it's his childhood in Chile. There's lots of illustrations, big words, and some of his lines of poems in here. It wasn't bad, but I guess it would help me knowing that it was like a biography going into it. This next one was definitely one I got because of someone's TBR, and it is Withering by the Sea. And I'm just gonna read the first little paragraph on the back here because it sounds really interesting. High on a cliff above the gloomy Victorian town of Withering by Sea stands the Hotel Majestic. Inside the walls of the damp, dull hotel, 11-year-old orphan Stella Montgomery leads a miserable life with her 3 dreadful aunts. Stella dreams of adventuring on the Amazon River, or any place really, as long as it isn't this dreary town where nothing ever happens. So, that one sounds cute. Then this next one is New Kid. It's a graphic novel, and I think this won some kind of award for being the best graphic novel for 2019. Something like that. So, this one will be a quick read, and I'm looking forward to reading this one. This next one has a beautiful cover. And it is Snow and Rose. This, I think, says Snow and Rose didn't know they were living in a fairy tale. People never do. So I think it's like Snow White and Red Rose. I don't know who Red Rose is, but it's got gorgeous illustrations in it. I love that kind of artwork. So it's like, I have so many books on my TBR, but this is another one I would like to get to. Oh, this is by Emily Winfield Martin. We've read a couple of her picture books in our house and I really like them. I love her illustrations. So it's not surprising that I love the illustrations inside. Next is Wish. I think that this is about a girl who finds a dog. I knew what it felt like to be a stray, not having a home where somebody wanted you. And he was a fighter, like me. That dog and I had a lot in common. I was suddenly overwhelmed with love for that skinny dog. Well, that one sounds cute. Possibly sad. Then I got The Land of Stories, and I'm actually listening to this one from the library right now. It is about a brother and sister who can fall into a fairy tale book, and I guess their adventures, they go on from there. Next up is a girl named Disaster. 11-year-old, oh man, I do not know how to pronounce her name, lives in a traditional village in Mozambique where she doesn't quite fit in. When her family tries to force her into marrying a cruel man, she runs away to Zimbabwe, hoping to find the father she's never met. So, one of my unofficial goals for this year and upcoming years is to read more books set in Africa because my son is adopted from South Africa. So that is probably why I heard about this one and then wanted to read it. Oh, this one is such a cute one. Pages & Co. This is Tilly and the Lost Fairy Tales. Now this is book 2. First is Tilly and the Book Wanderers. It's about a girl whose family, her grandparents own a bookshop, and some of their favorite characters from books come to life in the bookshop. And yeah, and it's got cute little illustrations throughout the book as well. I read the first one maybe like a year ago. And I loved it, so hopefully I can get to that one. Obviously, I just like need an entire day to do nothing but read. Next up is Wish Tree. I thought this one was free verse. It is not. It says, my close friends call me Red, and you can too. But for a long time, people in the neighborhood have called me the Wish Tree. Oh yes, this is a story about, or it's told by a tree, I think. So that one sounded cute when I've heard it described before. Next up is another one set in Africa, I think somewhere. Where is it? It doesn't say. But it's The Red Pencil. It is about a girl who wants to learn to read and write to set free all the big ideas she finds herself sketching in the sand. But girls like her don't go to school. Their purpose is to work, to become good wives and mothers. Yet she can't help but hope for something more. So, oh yeah, Sudan, look at that, I can read. Yeah, so another African one. Next up is The Book of Boy. This is the middle grade read-along, the book that they're kind of doing as the main read-along. This is, I think it follows a hunchback, and it's about a boy in Victorian times, I think. It's like Victorian fantasy, possibly. Maybe it's not fantasy. Maybe it's just Victorian fiction. I don't know. It sounds interesting, and we'll see if I can get to that one. Next up is Ban This Book. This one is about a girl who knows about books that are being banned from the library, and she's taking them and making a library out of her own locker, I think, at school. Oh yes, and there's a list on the back here of Amy Ann's Banned Books Locker Library. So like one of the ones that's banned is Matilda, Harriet the Spy, From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. What? So that one sounds cute. Ooh, and this one, I like the cover. This is York. This is, I think, a fantasy set in New York. It was 1798 when the Morningstar twins arrived in New York with a vision for a magnificent city, towering skyscrapers, dazzling machines, and winding train lines, all running on technology no one has ever seen before. Oh yes, that's right. This one is like Victorian steampunk, I think. So middle grade Victorian steampunk sounds fascinating, but it's a big one, and like so many other books are on my list. I'm not sure I'll get to that one. Next up is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. This is a cute little book that I heard someone talking about on YouTube, possibly Murphy. And then I saw it at the bookstore and wanted to get it from the library. Where, oh, it says, okay, so what it is like there's just all these different little conversations between this boy and the mole and the fox and the horse. This page says, what do you think is the biggest waste of time? Comparing yourself to others, said the mole. I wonder if there's a school of unlearning. So it's just like all these thoughts and things that they've learned, and it looks really cute. I want to read the whole thing. And the last book that I have. Oh man, so many books. The last book is Sweep, the Story of a Girl and Her Monster. This is set in Victorian London, I think, and is a fantasy about a girl who is a chimney sweep and some kind of monster that she comes across. I've heard nothing but rave reviews about it, but usually when I hear rave reviews, I have like super high expectations and then I'm disappointed. Plus, Jonathan Auxier also wrote Peter Nimble's Fantastic Eyes or something like that, and I ended up quitting that one pretty early on because it was too fantastical for me. So I'm not sure if this one will be that or not, but I'm curious about it. It's got a cute little map on the inside. So yeah, that is my middle grade library haul. I really don't know how many of these I'm going to get read because I also have my own books I want to read for middle grade March, but hopefully I can get like a number of these read. And if you have middle grade books that you would suggest, you know, leave me a comment below, because you can always request more books from the library.